Okay, so today when you're doing this lesson 104, you're going to work your way through the lesson. Page 8 you can skip, but page 5 has an assignment for you to look at the example of a compare and contrast graphic organizer and then create your own. And I told the class that you can create your own like a Venn diagram, or you can do it with a chart like they showed you. And you're going to compare and contrast things from our news story, which you'll need to read on page 5. I think it's page 5 or 6. Page 7, you don't have to do the writing for that. But this last page, page 10, is where your assignment is that you'll submit tomorrow. And if you don't know how to submit an assignment, like where you do it on paper and then you need to take a picture and submit it, remember that you can go back to our homepage. You can click on homeroom info and links to weekly and daily schedules. Inside that link, you're going to find tech help. And if you click on that, you should see how to take a photo on your Chromebook, submit an assignment for Florida Virtual. And if you play that, it's a video on how to do it. So that is your language arts lesson for this morning. Sorry, I'm a little late getting that done, but we didn't have time to finish this morning. All right. Okay. So this week, I said this morning, I'd love to start meeting with each one of you one-on-one. I think the way I'm going to do that is just ask for a couple of kids to stay at the end of the meeting time and talk with me. So after this meeting today, if you're on here, I'll just have a few of you stay. I'll look down my list and maybe have Javier, Hamidi, Eli, and Anayansi stay after the meeting if you're here. And maybe Sophia as well. So if 5 of you stay each time and I do 5 a day, that'll be fun. I'll get to know you guys better. And I'd like to just chat with you and get to know who you are and what you like to do and all that stuff, because it's kind of hard to do that when we're online. Okay. If you don't want to meet with me for some reason, send me an email and tell me, or if you have something going on and can't stay. But otherwise, if you 5 could stay, Javier, Amadi, Eli, Anayansi, and Sophia, that'd be great. Okay. So right now we're switching to math. And I need to show you, I wanted to show you the PE policy too. So let me show you that. I'm going to share my screen again. And oops, I'm still back in that tech help. Let's get out of that. I always have like 5,000 things open. Okay, here we are. So if you go to, I think it's in our weekly agenda at a glance. So if you go to that link, it's always got this. I sent this to you in an email too. Thumbs up if you got that email with the weekly agenda. Good, awesome. So it says flex PE policy. I had to ask a little bit to see what our current physical education policy is. So here it is. This is really more for your parents than you. We have a PE course that you have online and you can open it up and do it as much as you want. But unlike reading and math, I'm not going to be grading it. I'm not going to be giving you credit for it. The only thing I mark is on your report card, there is a spot where I give you a little mark whether or not you're doing your PE. So by Oregon law, you have to do some PE. We have to provide you with some PE. Because Flex is an online school, responsibility for PE is kind of a home family decision. So you need to talk to your parents about this. You may opt to use the modules in Florida Virtual for PE, but they will not be assigned. So you're not going to see them on your calendar. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You may work through them at your own pace. I'll check before grading to see if a student has done at least 1 lesson a week for PE. So if you want a plus in PE, you can do 1 lesson a week on Florida Virtual, or you can use the Oregon standards for PE and keep a log of your physical activity and email me a copy of the log each term before grading if you'd like a plus in PE. By Oregon law, in-person schools must provide 120 minutes, so 2 hours of PE a week. You should be logging at least 2 hours of physical activity or a lesson, or maybe a lesson every other week and 2 hours every other week. You can decide how you do that, but right before grading, I'll check it to see what to do there. Here's all the standards for 5th grade. I'm not going to read them all now, but there's tons here. Dancing, gymnastics, maybe you take a class, movement, manipulation, ball sports, hand dribbling, kicking, volleyball. Let's see what else. Jump rope. And we may have some flex time where we get to come in and do some of these games. We actually have PE equipment. And last time I did flex, we could only do PE things at school. So it was super fun. We got together and played all sorts of games. Since it was still physical distancing time, I made the kids play soccer with a hula hoop around them so they wouldn't touch each other. They had to run around with holding a hula hoop. It was super funny. Anyway, so we'll see about that. Do I have any questions about PE? And I will send that PE policy out to your parents. Shu, you have a PE question?
Actually, it was for the last lesson, the language arts.
Yeah.
Did we?
Okay. All right. Any other questions about PE? No? Okay. Let's move on. Let's get to math. It's time for math. All right. So let's look at our math assignment for the day. As we go back to our calendar, you're going to see, well, we'll just go to this since it's here. You can work from the calendar or you can work from here. You can see it says that today we're doing 103, 2000s and beyond. This was the one that you already did. But I wanted to clarify just a couple of things. I did show some of the kids this, but I wanted to make it super, super clear because it's kind of a big deal. And if you haven't done the online school before, at the end of a unit, there's going to be a time often when I conference with you one-on-one, and I'll be asking you some questions, and I'm definitely going to ask you this one. So let me make a whiteboard and just kind of show you one little trick to understanding place value. So we'll do a new whiteboard. Well, I'll use my old one. It's kind of ugly, but that's okay. That's okay. I did my best. Oh, it came out really tiny. Can you guys see it, or is it really tiny? Is it tiny?
I can see it.
Okay.
Not that tiny.
So if this was a decimal and this number was 0.679 and I times it by 10. So if I times this number by 10, it's kind of like saying if I had one cake and I wanted 10 times as many cakes, how many cakes would I have? Well, I'd have 10, right? So each time you times by 10 on a place value chart, the number moves over by 1. This is times 10, this is times 10, this is times 10. So 6.79 times 10 becomes 6.79. The numbers all move over. If I times it by 10 again, the 6 moves over again, and I have 67.9. If I times it by 10 again, I've got 679.0. Every time you times by 10, it's a power. The way we write powers is we write them as tiny numbers, exponents up here. If I have 10 to the second power, that means it's 10 times 10. Now, another neat little trick about that is that however many times I'm timesing 10 by equals the number of zeros in the answer. So 10 to the second power, or 10 times 10 equals what? 100, and 100 has how many zeros?
2.
So if I have 10 to the third, that's going to be the same as 10 times 10. I should be using my little pen, huh? My electronic pen. I have to get better at that and use my iPad. Times 10. How many zeros are going to be in my answer?
3.
3.
3. Yay. So really, it's not that hard. You just have to know what it means. And if I were in the place value chart and I had 10, so the 1 is in the tens place, the 0 is in the ones place. Here's my decimal, right? And I times it by 10. Now it came out, my 1 moved over to here, right? So now it's 100. And then I times it by 10 again. Where's it going? It's going over, right? 1,000, 10 times 10 times 10, 10 times 10 times 10, 3 times, okay? So whenever you move things in the number chart, when you're timesing them by 10, they're getting bigger. So the numbers are moving to the left because that number is getting bigger, bigger, bigger. What happens when we divide then? What happens when we divide by 10 on the place value chart? Which way do the numbers move? You guys want to point? let's say you have one cake, right? One cake here on the place value chart. And you got 10 kids eating it. Here's your decimal. Where's that one gonna go? Anybody, go ahead and shout it out.
To the right.
To the right.
To the right.
Because now you're all gonna get a 10th of a piece of cake. Now this is a little bit tricky because I always think it's tricky because here's the decimal and this is the ones place, but this isn't really the 1ths place, is it? It's the 10ths place. Think about it as a cake. And so here you had a whole cake and then you had to divide it by 10. Oh my gosh, it's kind of hard to divide by 10. This is a lot faster, isn't it? Okay, Ms. Laws, that's a terrible dividing by 10. So now all you have is one little piece of cake. Sorry, 1/10, right? 1/10. That's 1/10. Okay. We always, when we're in smaller than 1 numbers, when we've divided that cake up, then we have this TH ending, tenths. So then this next column is hundredths, because if we take that one piece of cake and we divide it into 10 pieces, can you imagine how tiny they would be? Oh my gosh, I can't even do it. So you just have one little slice and that's 0.01 or 1/10 of a piece of cake. That means if you split that cake into 100, if you split that cake into 100 tiny pieces, you would have one little tiny slice. So those numbers are getting really small. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? So when you times by 10, the numbers move to the left. When you divide by 10, they move to the right. Shimai?
What is 10 to the power of a million?
Okay, you work that out and you get back to us on that, okay?
Just kidding. Just kidding.
I like it that you kid about math because math can be really fun. If you're a kid who doesn't love math, I'm hoping this year you'll get to see the fun in math. It's kind of fun, especially I think when you think of math as food, it really makes math come alive because kids might be like, oh, I'm terrible at fractions, but you give kids a cake and say, divide this cake equally. And if they like cake, they're going to do a great job, aren't they? You're going to make sure you get your fair share, or like a bag of candy. You're going to make sure you get your fair share. Okay, so today you're doing lesson. Let's look at our agenda. Sharing your screen. Yeah, I still want to share my screen, but I want to close my whiteboard. How do I do that? Is the whiteboard closed right now? No. Okay, I'll stop my share and that'll close my whiteboard. There we go. All right, now I'm going to share my screen again, but hopefully not open my whiteboard. How'd it go? Did it work okay? All right, so again, let's go back to our agenda, whichever version of it you have. You're going to go to it a million times. You can see that it says to submit this lesson today. If you click directly on that, it's going to take you to that lesson. But, you know, whenever you go to these lessons, they don't really tell you what to do. They just say graded quiz. Oh, this one they do. It's a graded quiz. So that one should take you straight to it and you can do the quiz and submit it today. So that's what you need to do for math. If you don't remember what that quiz is about, again, this just takes you from assignment to assignment down here. To get to that lesson 103, you need to go back to your subjects, go into math, go into modules. You should be getting really good at this if you've done it as many times as I have. Go down to 103 and remember this is the assignment, but this is the lesson. So this one's due today because it really was a continuation of last week. So here it is, and the assignment is always on the last page. So if you go to page 8 of the lesson, what is my assignment? It's time to show what you know, complete the quiz. And then if you need to go back and review because you spent all weekend digging in the garden and finding worms and eating them, then you can go back and review everything in the lesson. Okay, worm eaters. Plan to expand. So here they're showing 3 times 1/10. They're showing you how to expand these numbers. So be careful because when it says 3 times, you're not going to move it 3 times on the place value chart. That's only when you're timesing or dividing by 10, right? Okay. Anyway, you can go back and look at the lesson again if you need to. Do I have any questions about the math lesson? About the lesson? Anybody? I don't see questions. Okay. If you are having problems submitting in math or doing math, please stay in the meeting with me and ask me questions or send me an email. I haven't been getting that many emails from you guys. So that's kind of it for our math for today. You saw the PE policy. The PE course should be here, right there. It starts out with some safety, a big module on safety. So if you want to go to your PE course and do it, you can. You can always, these PE classes are long, I'll tell you that. Look at this thing. It is pretty long. It's 6 lessons, but the first lesson, this, not the mod 1 pre-test, but the safety lesson, if you click on it, it's like, where is it? 25 pages long. I looked at it and I'm like, oh my gosh. What we really want you to do is go outside, have fun, get some exercise. You can do this assignment if you want. You can click through it pretty quickly because honestly, a lot of it is kind of common sense. So I think you're going to know a lot of it already, but still, it's kind of fun to do if you want to do it. Okay,